Well, I can't believe it, folks. We're at the end of season 2024-2025. The new season will be launched at Solar and Storage in Birmingham on Tuesday, the 21st September. I love to see loads of you in person. I think there's going to be 15,000 people there on next Tuesday at the NEC, so I can't wait to see you. So what have been some of the highlights and some of the rundowns? We're about to get 24 clips from essentially the top third of episodes that we had, as this is number 60 of the season. We have been listened to in over 70 countries around the world. We've achieved the status of being number one energy podcast on Apple and number 7 in terms of all business podcasts. So we're just behind Steve Bartlett and Martin Lewis, but ahead of the likes of the Financial Times and Bloomberg. Thank you so much to all of our listeners around the world that made it happen. Now, there are 3 episodes that sadly were not as loved as other episodes by the public. So I would say that this is now time to go back through our back catalogue and before we launch the next season, indulge and listen. So I'd strongly recommend that there's 3 episodes that didn't get the love that they deserved. So these are the 3 I'd really go back to. Episode 7, back in October 2024, when we put together a set of highlights from All Energy in Glasgow the previous May, and we looked at the challenge of the HGV going to net zero. It's a fantastic episode with wonderful SNT data about where trucks need to go, and we'd highly recommend you watch it. Episode number 8 was also a bit of a challenge. We want that love to come back, but this was amazing, guys. We were in Norway at the ONS 50th anniversary show. We've got Lord Brown, the former CEO of BP, on there, and we also have the Prime Minister of Norway on there. Listen to that because it talks about the ethics of why you need to supply oil and gas to keep the likes of the bread price low. Norway was a fantastic adventure. Please go and listen to that one. And the final one that surprised me, and I think this was more because we had 6 out on the same day at International Energy Week. We had a big selection of the keynote speakers speaking at Energy Institute's thing. But one that didn't get as much love was Crystal Energy's CEO, Dr. Carol Narkle. I would listen to her. Carol is kick-ass. And the main reason I say she's kick-ass, she really addresses that issue that lots of us contemplate in the energy issue, about how you have to both work with China, but also checks and balances about China. It's a great episode. She addresses Trump, she addresses China, and therefore I would go back to episode 24 and enjoy yourself, back from February this year.
So China is an important trade partner, but would I want to put all my eggs in one country with which I differ on many things, some of the things that you already mentioned, Alex? No, I wouldn't do that. I would definitely try to kind of ride several horses at the same time. So China is an important trade partner, but should not be the most important trade partner for the various risks that we discussed.
So just before we go to the winner chicken dinner and the top 3 episodes of all views over all platforms, we just wanted to say some of the things you can look forward to in season 2 coming up. So first of all, we will be chairing the Spectators Energy Summit on the 24th of November. And this week in our show notes, you can actually get a discount of 25% by using the Wolfe Power Club code WPC25 to get your 25% off tickets. And it'd be amazing to see you there with over 300 leaders of energy, industry, and politics of both the government in charge today and those wanting to come the future governments in the room, and people from all different nations in Westminster on the 24th of November. We also have some really exciting episodes coming up in season 2. We have got Michael Gove. Obviously, he's done all the top jobs in politics and is the editor of The Spectator. We've got Baroness Luciana Berger. She has had an incredible political career herself, but now is chair of the Energy Storage Association. We go deep into hydrogen with Toyota, and we actually drive our first ever hydrogen vehicle, the Toyota Hilux. And, it's one of the most popular vehicles on earth, but now it's in a hydrogen form. We also have been with the RHA recently, the Road Haulage Association, to see the future of energy in the truck business. And then we have the ambassador for Brazil talking about why Brazil has done everything to secure COP30 and what they're looking to get out of COP30. We've got all this to come in season 2. So here is our top 3 episodes, and then we'll end what it means that our season average was and what our total views and listens were across all platforms. So in third place, we have episode 45, and this was a beautiful story that over 904 viewers. Yes, that's over 300,000 people listened to. And that is the rags to riches story of the Issa brothers. How they went from a house in Blackburn to owning the whole of Asda and being worth over 6 billion. No wonder that was popular. Everyone loves a rags to riches story. As what I set out to do in the energy podcast world is that I wanted stories that celebrate our industry. Nothing celebrates entrepreneurialism more than that episode. Then in second place, we have episode 50. And this was one of the big heavyweights of the automotive world. And it was how Bosch has reignited the liquid fuel debate. This got over 365,000 viewers. To be precise, it got 300,666 880 views across all platforms. So that is over a third of a million people listened about how Bosch is reigniting the debate, issues from E10 to E20, and obviously we had our generous advertiser Prima Energy in that episode. The final part in terms of who is number one, big drum roll, our number one episode this year, in conjunction with the Energy Institute, and specifically with the Energy Institute, Powerful Women, was the episode number 47, out on the 18th of June, where the Powerful Women annual report said why are energy companies failing women. This episode got an incredible 441,853. Yeah, you've heard it correct, ladies and gentlemen. Over 440,000 views across platforms and listens on this huge issue. We obviously had, an amazing cast of people there, including the president of National Grid, Cordy O'Hara, and this episode just rocketed through, and we hope you enjoy the highlights of that. So, what does that mean as the podcast? So I can officially announce that more people on average each week across our first 59 episodes, and this is obviously 60-10 season, have actually listened to us and have gone to see Chelsea live. So the average gate at Stamford Bridge is just under 40,000, 39,000 something, and we are just above 40,000 average per episode for season 24-25. Can I thank every single one of listener that has been listening in each week? The other thing about it, what it means is that across the 59 episodes, we've achieved just under 2.4 million listens across all episodes. I'll see you in season 2. I'll see you at the NEC, and I can't wait to see you in person at the Spectator Energy Summit. Thank you so much to all of our great guests. There's 60 amazing episodes in season 24-25, but bring on season 25-26. Thank you for your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy 24 clips of the previous year. You're obviously one of the most senior people in the energy industry, forget gender, and you said it was bittersweet. What did you mean by that?
So I think for leading companies who have been progressively focusing on diverse hiring practices, supportive environments, and really focusing on intentional culture, they're doing well. But not all are operating at the same levels of commitment and focus. And so whilst we're seeing progression, we're not seeing it fast enough at a scale that means our sector is truly attractive to all employee bases and talents for our journey ahead.
But I also think there is the bias within all of us. We know that so many examples I've heard of men and women, mum and dads, when their child is ill, even though they have told the nursery to ring dad, and dad's number is top of the form, the nursery will still ring the mother. And so I think it just speaks to entrenched ideas around caring responsibilities. And that is not gendered, that is not by profession or age. I think we have all grown up as products of our environment. For many years, we have had kind of social norms where mothers have done the majority of childcare, men have been the providers and protectors in the family. That's what we've seen for generations. We are still unlearning that. So, a message for all the nursery owners: when the form says call the dad, call the dad. And even if it doesn't say call the dad anyway, because he might pick up.
There was a discussion that if petrol moved from E10 to E20, it would have a great environmental benefit than the current total electric car sales. And I was just understanding, what are the opportunities for E20 and how would Bosch work with a market that moved to E20?
Yeah, the numbers were actually brought forward by a company who's providing the ethanol part that is today already blended into conventional gasoline. And according to their estimates, if you simply went from E10, which is widely available in Germany, where I reside, up to E20, just making the quantification across the market, counting the number of gasoline cars and the quantities of fuel used there, if you simply upgrade the blend of from 10% to 20% of renewable content, you can come to a similar CO2 reduction that's equivalent to the CO2 reductions that all EVs have incurred of EVs on the road in Germany.
What I just want to echo on at this point is these two guys have spent £150,000, all of their life savings, on this petrol station. And there's probably everyone thinking, whoa, petrol stations make loads of money. The reality, I would say, in the United Kingdom is until you've got a group of about 4 to 6 sites, with some of those sites having really good volumes and really good shops, the reality is that to make profit from a petrol station is very hard. There's a number of different factors in that. One, you're selling something that's very low margin in terms of fuel, so you only need a few things like drive-offs and stuff to hit your day's trading. The next bit is to running the shops, and when you're on small multiples, looking after that product and, sale return items. Again, several items that people mainly come for, like cigarettes and stuff, have very, very, very low margins. And then also there will be big challenges to give discounts on things like meal deals and so on. Energy was one of the big reasons that the Labour government have lost significant support since the summer. And there was a number of areas. The first was that the winter fuel allowance, which helped the elderly, disabled and so on, have a contribution towards their heating bills, has gone in terms of the budget cuts from the government, increasing the cost on people's fuel charges. Secondly is the government's committed billions of pounds into GB energy, carbon capture and other projects that essentially people feel that are Ed Miliband projects, and they're not supporting the British economy, British jobs, and they feel that essentially these comments from Blair added further, and there's people calling in phone-ins talking about the winter fuel allowance and the waste of money that net zero could be. And as a result, it looks like this is an issue that's not going to go away for the government, with lots of people challenging what they've said and essentially feel that their policy at the moment is not in the best interest for the United Kingdom.
But I think what's missing, in my view, and I think the view of many others, and I think that's also important for the electorate, is something that's much closer to home. I mean, Labour promised a warm homes plan. I think that was the name in the manifesto, right? And I think that is an area where, if you think about any potential new public spending, I personally think that's probably an area that you might want to tackle first, because it's affecting people, and we go into the winter with prices rising, right? The latest price cap increase that we've seen from Ofgem points into one direction, which is not helpful when it comes to the next winter. And Labour could really, I think, support people more with improving the efficiency of their homes, right? Switching to more efficient technologies like heat pumps or installing solar on their rooftops. I think that is one of the areas that has been overlooked in the past, and is one where Labour and with their budget, I think, could make a real contribution, especially for low-income families, just don't have the capital, can't afford it. I think that's one of the areas I would really like to see Labour making a bit of a splash with the budget, be a bit more ambitious and bolder than perhaps the last government.
When it comes to that tension between energy poverty and net zero, I actually think you get it right. They can go hand in hand because, yes, initially, when you make those investments in more renewable fuels and invest in those new technologies, there's an increase in cost as well. But it does mean that over time, those costs will come down. And if you choose the right technologies and allow people to choose one, crucially, that works for their own circumstances, then I think you can actually get that transition to net zero, but in a way that doesn't cost too much.
And I think this goes to your original question. Is energy security particularly different today? Not necessarily. Yesterday's event was held by the International Energy Agency. That was created in a response to the 1970s oil shocks, right? And we set up strategic reserves and stocks at the time because we knew that there are moments of real specific vulnerability. And now that system can be refined. How we get that to market, if it's crude versus actual petroleum products and distillates that the market needs to consume and have on hand, we're always refining these things. But I definitely think it stress tests the system pretty aggressively. Maybe more COVID than Ukraine. But both really big moments.
The debt in the United Kingdom has increased by £186 billion. You've heard me correct, listeners, not £1 million, £1 billion. And now we're at debt level of £2.71 trillion. Darwin, what's your report found, and should the listener be concerned?
Well, very simply, yes, they should. I think everyone across the country should be concerned about it as well. As you mentioned, £2.7 trillion in debt overall. That's almost 100% of the entire economy's GDP. And in the last year, since this government's been in power, it's increased, as you say, by almost £200 billion. Now, I know these numbers for many of your listeners will just seem so astronomical, it almost becomes difficult to fathom what they actually mean. But the way that they should understand it is, and why they should care about this, is that the debt isn't simply a stockpile of money sitting on the side, which they never have to worry about. It's something they are actively having to pay for through debt interest, which in recent years has continued to rise alongside the overall debt as well. In the upcoming year, and for every forecast year that we have as well, the UK is set to be spending £100 billion just on servicing the debt interest. So for your listener, it's like if you take a loan out, then you've got to obviously make those loan repayments in return for that money. And 100 billion puts it within the top 5 spending areas for the government.
So in your report, it's saying that today, or it's up to the last year when there's publicly registered information, is that the UK's pence per kilowatt hour is almost at the 28p rate. I think you said 27.9. But you're saying in the EU, averages are at 10.8 pence per kilowatt hour, and yet we had parity in 2011. Do you think this is why heavy industry has actually got a point when they're moaning about the power costs? Because in very simple maths, it looks like they're paying 2.5 times for their power compared to having the same infrastructure in the EU.
Well, the shocking thing is it's even lower in the US and in parts of Asia. And so what we find is that although we are paying significantly more than competitors in the EU, those competitors themselves are not competitive on a global basis. So German steelmakers are not profitable. BASF closed up all its German factories and moved them to China. And actually, the Scholz government was essentially collapsed when VW announced it was going to do the same thing. It was basically the first time that the German public really cottoned on to what their energy policy meant in practice, and they quickly said they didn't like it.
However, for today, my goal is to find a truck that works for most markets, enough use cases for us to really grow a meaningful business out of what we do, and at the same time, penetrate people's minds to really leave the impression that EV trucks work. On a TCO basis, we can even make the math work. It's actually cleaner and cheaper than diesel trucks in many markets.
it's the lowest forecourt fuel price we've seen in nearly 4 years in this country. And after kind of a stable period, kind of from 2022 to kind of the start of this year, suddenly we've had this quite significant drop. What are the consequences of that, and what's happening in the industry, and why did we get to this place?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been interesting to see. I think people kind of got used to prices sitting at a certain level, let's say a high level, for several years. And over the last, really since tail end of last year, beginning of this year, 2025, we have seen prices significantly come down and materially come down. So, 15 pence a litre if you actually kind of go over the period. And I think that's, as you just said, that's the first time for a long time we've seen that. And I think people did get to the point where they thought they would never see that again. So that's quite interesting.
Now, I've heard rumours of 40 to 50 grand being knocked off new Taycans. Wow. Which, if you're in the market for a new Taycan, is great. I just hope that you don't decide at any point during the finance deal that you want to sell it, because good luck to you. What this has also done, of course, is absolutely trashed the values of anybody that's already got a Taycan. There are a huge amount of businesses who bought into EVs, company directors that bought into them because, you know what, it didn't matter, it was a 100 grand car, it's an easy write-off. Well, that's changing, the incentives are gone, benefit in kind is coming in, and of course the government is going to realise that if they're not getting the tax money out of fuel anymore, then they're going to want it from somewhere else, and they're going to realise, well, hang on a minute, we're losing all this revenue because of the reduction in sales of combustion cars.
I think for our listeners, some of you, this might be a dream, because I know for me, it was always on my bucket list to break 200 miles per hour. And just to take our listeners back a bit, a mutual friend we've got in common, a guy which is called Steve C, because he's quite a pirate guy, but Steve basically and I were in a restaurant doing a charity car run. And Steve basically told me that his dream was to break 200 miles per hour. And as we sat there, I was like, that's my dream as well. And we had a long discussion, and he talked about how, how basically, been looking into what vehicle could do it, how you could break it, how you could do it legally. Just be clear for everyone on the podcast, we are talking about runways here, and not on anywhere else other than a designated safe area to do it. And I think what a lot of people don't realise is that almost getting a modern motor vehicle to sort of 140, 150 is quite doable. But then every bit of speed, once you start nudging past that for lots of different reasons, is difficult. And actually going past the 200 miles an hour is really difficult. And what a lot of people might not realise, because they'll see their Auto Trader app and it'll say on paper what a car can do. What were the sort of challenges of a V10? Because outside of sort of Lamborghinis and Audi R8, and it's vaguely the same engine, it's a very uncommon engine to have a V10 in either a race car or road car. So what puts engineers off the V10?
Well, it's not got proper secondary balance, which I guess would make it makes it a tricky thing for a road car. And I've owned a Lamborghini V10, and what a lovely thing. Makes a lovely noise. It's got that beautiful flat engine tone that only a V10 makes, which is all valve gear noise, by the way. If you heard the cylinder head rig running electrically powered, it sounds just like the full V10. It's not exhaust noise or intake. It's all valve gear. But yeah, in Formula One, we didn't care whether it was a V8 or a V12 or a V22, frankly. And if it made more power, we'd have done it.
I'd written my letters to various car companies to try and get some a summer job in cars, because I liked cars. And so I had a first summer in the workshop at DK Engineering, which I enjoyed, but I ultimately realised I wasn't very good at. So I wrote a letter back for the next summer holiday to try and come and work in the sales department. And I think it was determined that it would be appropriate that I did the filing for James and Jeremy, who were running the sales department at the time. And that summer holiday of mine clashed, obviously, with the Pebble Beach auctions and Pebble Beach or Monterey is like the MIPIM. What MIPIM is for property boys is what it is for car guys. You know, we have 5 or 6 huge auctions. We have a number of huge shows. We have the collector car community all kind of gather in California. So they all went to California. I was 17. They left me in the office and they said, look, if the phone rings, I remember it very clearly, if the phone rings, put it through to us. But not if it's in the morning, because we'll still be in bed, because we'll be 8 hours behind you in California. So I took a call from an Italian gentleman, which ended up in him flying to England and buying a BMW 507 for £515,000. So I had the bug, absolutely had the bug. From
there are not many people in work experience that shift £500,000 worth of stock.
No.
The UK's not gone electric. We're missing the target, 21%. Everyone's around your KTM. How can we get that passion going around electric cars?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, every petrolhead I know just simply don't want to change. It's simple as that. You know, unless they force the issues with taxes and all that sort of stuff, I feel like I don't know how, because I wouldn't want to change. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't see how it's possible.
We're in a vehicle at Motor Show, no steering wheel, no pedals, and if anything, it's like a luxury booth to watch TV. This is going to be, in 2027, the future of taxi cars coming from Tesla. They've already got these working out in the US, and the Cybercab is coming to the shore in 2027. It's just mind-blowing that we're at Motor Show, and actually one of the pinnacle things we're going to feature is a car with no wheel, no pedals. This has got durability, it's got wireless charging, it'll be able to drive itself. The possibilities are endless, and a huge boot. There'll be reams of taxi companies mass buying this car to have huge efficiencies and have a driverless society. The role of the taxi driver will probably go with this vehicle. We'd love to know your thoughts on that. What was the passion of Wisk to go electric rather than standard aviation fuel or other power source?
Yeah, the electric source, it's always been since the start of the company, just the power source we wanted. The company's been around since the 2010, 2011 timeframe, and we're Silicon Valley. We originally are from Silicon Valley, and at the time, you know, Tesla started working on electric cars, and it kind of looked like where the future was going. And this was the path we've always wanted to take. We've never looked at alternative power sources. It's been electric from the beginning, and it's been autonomous since 2017.
Not only do we have the amazing podcast on sustainability with the All England Club, we've got one of its board members here, one of the great legends. Who are you?
I'm Tim Henman. Thank you for having me. I'm here for my foundation event today, so more tennis.
Fantastic. The foundation is brilliant. The podcast loves supporting it, but our audience in 67 countries, Tim, really want to know who's going to win the women's and the men's this year.
I think this year there might be a new winner of the women's. I think Aryna Sabalenka, she had a tough loss in the final of Roland Garros. I think the way she's playing, I think she might take a Wimbledon title.
And in the men's?
I'm going to go out on a limb with the men's, and I'm going to go for this young Spaniard. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name's Carlos Alcaraz. I think he's going to be pretty tough to beat.
He looked very dangerous on the grass last week at Queen's, and he's suddenly come a serve bot along with all the other stuff. So it's very exciting times. Yeah. Can you just say what the foundation would like to sort of achieve with the fundraising?
Yeah, so my foundation, in a nutshell, we provide sporting and educational opportunities for disadvantaged young people, and we're so grateful for all the support we have, and we're looking forward to having a good day today.
Tim, have an amazing day, serve lots of aces, raise lots of pounds, and have a great time.
Thank you very much.
I fought a guy called Ivan Krytov at the Olympic Games. He's a world champion, hadn't lost a fight in 2 years. He knocked out everyone, a knockout merchant. And when I say knock out everyone, he knocked out everyone at world championships, the best boxers in the world, Europeans, the best boxers. He didn't knock out, you go on YouTube and watch, I'm not knocking the guy, but Anthony Joshua knockouts. His first 20 fights, his first 15 fights, they were rubbish. He fought taxi drivers and bin men and road sweepers. In the Olympic Games, you find the best boxers in the world. And then obviously in pro boxing, you get to the top, you fight the Klitschko's and the good people. But on the way up, you don't. So it's funny because international, and I never got that elite level in pro boxing because I'm blind in my left eye now. We might touch upon it, but I was forced to retire from boxing, had a really bad severe eye injury, hence I now do pro wrestling, which is performance, right? It's very tough, but very performative driven. So with the professional boxing. I never got to the elite level in pro boxing because of my injuries kept failing me. My shoulder came out, my Achilles were snapped, as I mentioned. However, the elite level in international boxing, Olympic Games, Europeans, World Championships, goodness me, they are better fighters than everyone in the pros until maybe about European level, maybe even better than that.
The actual boat race program is 6 or 7 months. So I think that's quite a good way to sort of focus yourself to start with. And then within that, you're looking at about 35 hours of training a week. So it's basically like having a job, but then you've got your degree as well to do. So you choose, I think it's Tuesday to Friday, you'll have a land training session in the morning, and then you'll be on the water for a rowing session in the afternoon. And then Saturdays and Sundays will be 2 water sessions each day. Because you're doing 11 sessions a week, it's really a calories game. You've just got to get the calories in. Most people are like, you know, to be honest, my weight didn't really move around at all in the 4 years I was at Cambridge, because it was just a case of like trying to get the calories in and trying to maintain it.
I think a lot of people that even in our industry aren't educated. Everyone's in somewhat educated about the energy industry, right? The energy industry is one of the most, if not the most lucrative industry in the world, but based on the fact that you'll always need it. I mean, to answer the question about what storage terminals are, to simplify it, it's these massive containers that store products, liquids and gases. I think I was thinking about this question very carefully because we've actually been asked this quite a few times. And I think the best way to answer it is storage terminals are obviously and do play a very vital role in energy and commodity supply chain, if you want to simplify it. So they're obviously important to ensure that markets find their balance in the most price efficient way. I think that's the best way I can try and explain it in terms of why are storage tanks so important. They store energy in whichever form it comes in. And, you know, the world is always going to need energy. It's really that simple. I mean, I hope it comes across as simple as I'm explaining it.
What would you like to see from the government in the next 12 months regarding energy policy? And I'm going to pick on you again, Emily.
Thank you. I think supporting renewable fuel and rebated fuel and tax clarity as well will be good.
I could not agree more with you. The idea that we run a system with dies in it that prevents renewables scaling because you need 2 grades of it when we've got a digital taxation system. Emily, I think you should be in the Parliament. That is spot on. And Hannah, where do you think the government should put their effort in the next 12 months for the industry?
I understand they're not going to solve world hunger, but I think we should definitely help with the financial situation at the moment. A lot of customers come on the phone that can't afford just something that they're entitled to, which is heat. So definitely helping them out a little bit more would be much more better for everyone.
I think that's a great answer for someone who actually has experience picking up the calls to people that are making that choice on their wealth, the meat versus heat debate and the energy trilemma. That is such an important thing to raise. And Harry, what would you like the government to do?
I think the farmers haven't had it easy, so let's support our farmers. And it's fair to say they're not that happy at the moment, so let's support them and let's get behind them.